beautiful day in the neighborhood. I shouldn't have said that, Mark. That I wouldn't say that. That's what he says. Would you be mine? Would you be mine? Would you be my neighbor? Hey, welcome to another edition of Power to the People. I'm your host, co-host for today. The bishop will be here in a few moments. I'm just grabbing something for the last minute for our conversation on today. I hope you're ready for some good talk and listening and hearing about what's going on. We're going to talk a little bit about, I think, the decision yesterday. Um, we're going to talk a little bit about that and just some other things going on, but just stay tuned because we got a lot to go explain and talk about. Um, Certainly, when we talk about this decision from yesterday, we may not have gotten all that we wanted, but we wanted to get something. So that was why we kind of went in there. But we're going to get started as soon as the bishop comes back. And I hope that you're going to enjoy this today. It's going to be 90 degrees, somewhat 90 degrees, Mark.
90
90
degrees.
plus.
I'm not a 90-degree person. I prefer a nice 75 with a slight breeze.
Listen.
And the evening drop down to 55. So 90 is not my forte.
Well, I'm taking 90. I'm going to take 90 plus because the day after, it's going to be in the 70s.
That's my
Yeah,
weather.
That's your type of weather.
That is my type of
this
weather.
This is Buffalo. We want every 90 day we can get. Right, Bishop? He said amen.
Amen. No, nothing. Amen.
Man, you got that's a
So,
that's a bright yellow shirt. That's brighter than the sun. That is brighter than the sun. Whoa.
trying to get on.
Yeah.
All right, there we go.
Wow.
Yeah, I wanted light colors today. I don't know. We got the blinds. Get some sun.
Yeah, you want some,
I need sun.
You need some sun.
Oh, I don't even. Let me tell you something. If I had to work in an office with no windows, I wouldn't make it. I wouldn't make it. I have to have sun. I don't care if it's the middle of winter. And just for those of you who might be tuning in, if you call the church later, I think we'll close down church. It really is the front office.
You know what? Because you were here at 6 a.m.
Well, and because the staff spent the night. A lot of the big ups to 24 hours. I keep calling it 72 hours. I don't know if we ever going back to 72 hours because 24 hours was just right. Those 3 days, I enjoyed and was really blessed with the 24 hours of prayer. Started at 6 a.m. Went to started at 7 a.m. Just leave the number alone.
Okay.
I don't care. It
was
started
24
in the morning.
It was 24 hours.
It started in the morning and went to the 24 hours later. And just tremendous teaching, tremendous attendance. I don't want to start naming folks, but I will say that everybody who did anything, and I was thinking about this today when I came in, the people who very rarely get acknowledged with stuff like this where you have to plan and all that, they get acknowledged. They get acknowledged when things go well, and they get blamed when it goes, a little off the rails. But when I just walked through the back and recognizing how much work went into cleaning, and our setup staff here and the breakdown, the cleaning, is really done by a handful of people. And it's already straightened up. Yeah. They got it ready for Sunday morning.
Yeah.
We left here at 6 o'clock. We left here at 7 o'clock this morning. And for them to already have it. So big ups to Kevin and Dana and their team because they had to make sure that banquet room was set up for lunch, that the back with the baptism was set up and then broke down, and all of the people did that. This was our first outdoor baptism, and we probably baptized more than what the water should have allowed for. But the deacons and everybody fell into place, having outdoor communion. It was tremendous.
It was a real blessing. It was funny because when I pulled up, I'm like, well, where they doing the baptism? I
Oh,
don't see
because
no
you're
car.
looking for the front.
I'm looking at the front, and people were coming through the front, like doing the same thing. But then we came to the back,
Yeah.
And I think that was really nice and intimate, in how it was beautiful. I give you big ups for that vision, because everyone celebrated every person
Yeah.
that was baptized.
Yeah. It was. I just can't say enough. And then last night, William Murphy III,
Goodness.
just golly, like
Goodness
he had been here. Just a
Payback.
tremendous. Yeah, that sermon payback. Wow, I wrote a lot of notes, but it was balanced, and for anybody to think it was targeted, it wasn't. He came into town, heard from God, and spoke whatever God. But it blessed so many people who were in the audience, all of the ones who were listening and watching on social media. And so I can't thank Buffalo enough.
And when you invite a preacher, you're not talking to him about what the preach about. You just
Oh, no,
kinda just,
never.
I
Right.
need you to come and deliver a word. And
Yeah, I mean, first of all, the prayer was scheduled about a month ago, and big ups to people who had to put it together in a month, and they just did a tremendous job. I can't. There we go. I can't say enough about it. There's my yellow shirt that you're talking about. Okay,
Bright
big
yellow.
funny.
I need my
Keep it-
sunglasses.
Well, you need sunglasses anyway. Now I'm in my convertible today, so and people keep saying, "Put on your hat." Listen, I'm yellow enough that I need a little. I don't need to match the shirt that I have on. I need something. I need to take it a step further.
Little polo.
Listen, we're going to be talking about a few things today. We're going to be talking about what the vote of the Common Council was, and getting into specifics, because I got text this morning. Is my organization in it? Now, I'm going to say this. The administration should be reaching out to all these organizations, but we'll give you what we have. We'll give you the decision, as you know, probably already, about Bray Miller. And then we'll talk about the loan program and the grant program that is going to be available. But I want to look at some articles, I have, of why some black businesses fail, and really dig into that in the last half hour of the show. And so first of all, let me thank the Buffalo Challenger. I just saw the article that they wrote concerning the lie. And I appreciate that it was not sensationalized. Someone must have been here on Sunday morning, go figure, and captured my heart in the words. Also, they did write about the retraction of the allegation. I appreciate that, because some people will only go on allegation and then never mention the interview with the Buffalo News and the retraction, and the fact that the person, who I won't name, of course, says, I never met this guy, and I'm not a part of True Bethel. And so now, obviously, the saga continues, because the question is, who did it? Who put somebody up? And I'm going to tell you this, so this will probably, unless there's some new development, be the last time I address it here or anywhere else for that matter, until there's new developments. But the point is that I'm already in next year. I don't, if anybody knows how I operate, and I'm not letting anybody take me to a lie and then spend time. If I see you in the grocery store, I see you at the drugstore, just say hi, we can talk. But, and I appreciate the prayers, I'm going to say this, but I want to be clear. I'm in next year. I'm in 2025, even 2026. So this is how I operate. It is how I operate, how I have since I've been a teenager, is that you got to keep moving forward. And if there's something there, maybe you got to be in the back, you got to be in the past. But once somebody has said, I don't know this guy, now what goes forward is, well, what was it? Because it was something. It was something. But I believe with all of my heart, God will reveal. And as the preacher said last night, get out of his way.
Yeah.
Get out of his way. So my concentration needs to be what God is having me to do next. and not what somebody said, or else you become bitter, you become miserable, you can be depressed. And so I hope that I am leading in this community to show an example of when you, because this, when you go through trials, when you go through tribulations, when you go through accusations, how do you act? And so I'm done with that. So thank you, Challenger. Let's talk about ARP. Okay, so we voted finally yesterday to get out. Now, if you don't know what ARP is, let me make sure I got enough battery. Okay, I do. ARP is the American Rescue. That's where we were giving money from the federal government to come up with an action plan. The federal government said, here is this big pot of money. Help businesses, organizations, and the government who lost money during COVID. Let's be clear what it is about. That's what it's about. It different, and I read to you Orange County last week. Different municipalities or cities or towns or whoever got the money did different things to help people recover and businesses. In the city of Buffalo, so that you understand how this works, the administration will make the recommendation to the legislative body, which is the Common Council. So for almost 2 years, because this money has been there for a couple of years, we've been saying we need the money. We need to get the money out of the door. We need to get the money to the people who need it. That's been recognized by people who've been paying attention. We got a letter yesterday of some of the organization saying, we know it's not the Common Council. We know the Common Council has been pressing. Now, that organization also wanted us to hold up the vote, and I'll say why we didn't hold up the vote is because the longer we keep that money, folks, it doesn't get to the street. And so there's some decisions, you ain't gonna win 100%. But I tell you, we went back in when we were asked to give $500,000 to Bray Miller, and we said, no, we want to make sure we can put millions on the street. And I'm going to summarize, and then we'll have a conversation. For small businesses, and we talked about this last week, and we put in the resolution, you and I, for gig workers, Uber drivers, pizza delivery people, those who work for multiple people, but they didn't get recognized. And so we did get the millions out. Now, here is where the fly got in the ointment, if you will, or the devil in the details. We go to vote on it on Tuesday, and my colleague, Councilmember Golombek, had a question about the company that was chosen to give out the money, right? So a company not in Buffalo was chosen, and according to what's called an RFA, the request for application, it said it had to be a Buffalo company. What this company did, somewhere along the line, was connect with two reputable, because I don't in any way want to besmirch our own organizations, two reputable companies from Buffalo, but the problem was the company itself is not from Buffalo. Now, I'm just going to say this, and then let's have a conversation. If we don't have a company in Buffalo that can give out money, shame on us.
Shame on us.
Well, maybe we ought to be starting a business. Because if we don't have a company, and if you think about it, this is the second time this has happened. Tops. The company that distributed the money was not from Buffalo, and largely did not look like the victims. Now, I know it's a different situation in their situation, because I don't think they had an administrative fee, and I'm not sure.
I don't know if they did either. There might have been some cost to hold the money and pay out, because I'm sure they had to, everyone gets charged to hold meetings, and because they put a commission together, local commission.
Right.
But yeah, I'm sure there was something.
So, and I don't know that, so let me say it, because this is a day of lawsuits. So let me say it. Let me say it. I allegedly. See, I'm good with allegedly. So at the end of the day, regardless, there wasn't somebody local who could distribute that money. Now, and then this one, They said, well, this company had more expertise. They do it. So just somebody out there, if you're looking for some type of business, this seems to be lucrative because out of 5.5 million, there will be almost $1 million in administrative costs.
Yeah.
I want y'all to I want everybody to feast upon that.
Mm-hmm.
Feast upon that. And so what we did was fight hard to say we don't want that administrative costs that would be passed on to people to distribute money to come out of the money.
Right.
And we negotiated with the administration, and they took it out of some other area, but they did not take it out of the area for the not-for-profits.
Mm-hmm.
So any not-for-profit who thinks, oh, they're giving away to businesses, but we were promised, nope, it didn't come out of there. Rashid.
And like you said, I saw on Facebook, a lot of people said they gave them all that money. And believe you me, we didn't want to do it. But at the end of the day, we really wanted to get this money out in the street. 2.5 years, we hadn't got the money out to the street. We couldn't wait any longer. So as much as we would have liked to shake it down some more and got more money out, it just wasn't possible and get it out in a quick time frame. So that was the most important part. So we did do that, and I'm really proud of that aspect of it. Now the other pieces I'm not, but at the end of the day, we hope to see this money out. When we come back from recess, we're going to be asking a whole lot of questions on where this money is, where the process is, because people have been emailing me, texting me, well, how can I apply for this money? As soon as we get that information, we're going to make sure we get it out to these businesses because we know that everybody's waiting to get these dollars out. And the only thing is that bothers me is that Brave Miller's probably going to get their check right away. Everybody else got to wait. They got to wait for the criteria of what it is and how they can apply for this money. Those are the things that burn me, that even though we fought so hard for these other businesses, they still aren't going to get, as you talked about before, equity or as far as responsiveness in this situation.
Yeah, and so here, I hope, and you putting together a resolution that I'm going to co-sponsor that asks the administration or directs to report to the council on a monthly basis of the progress of getting this money out of the door.
As well as asking, because there was another part of how this money, the money that is used for revenue replacement, how that's used, because I'm like, we're going to dot every I and cross every T. We want to know that information because at the end of the day, there are organizations and people who could have used those dollars. And we decided we were going to take it to ourselves. Well, the administration decided they're going to take it as far as revenue replacement, but that is so much that could have really changed our neighborhoods. Like I went down the list of things that I was planning to do in the university district, especially as it relates to curbs, infrastructure. People have been complaining about curbs. This could have been transformational and getting us moving in the right direction, but that was toned down a little bit. But
now what I was looking for is, do we have the exact, because there was a list that was given to us of
that document.
Do you have it on your computer? Is it somewhere we can find? Because I got a call this morning, is our group still in, it's a pretty thick list. I wouldn't be able to go through it all, but because this one was a little, to me, hard to understand, the from and to.
Yeah, because that one was where they reduced the amount. And so that's not the actual amount that those groups are
so what I was looking for is some of the actuals of what groups would be getting. It is important, folks, if you have a small business, I don't know what the number is under 40 or 50 employees or something like that. I think do not quote me because those details will be worked out. But that if you suffered during COVID, if your business suffered, and we are trying, the Common Council who approved the gig workers amendment or suggestion unanimously, are trying to drill down even further than those who have brick and mortar. You have people out there, we have people out there who have grass cutting companies, legitimate grass cutting companies. Well, people really wasn't worried about their grass during COVID, or different services where restaurants closed down. And if your main job, and for some people, and I know in a lot of people's mind, they can't imagine Lyft and Uber as being a main job. But for a lot of people, it is a main job, and it feeds their family. And I don't think we're able to include it. Yeah, I can open it. You'll send it over.
Yep.
That those are main jobs. I know Janika is working on something. I don't know if that's through NAN about gig workers, and we have to respect anybody who will go to work every single day. And it might not be in a building, especially now in this century, in this decade, I should say. A lot of people don't. They work for themselves.
Yeah, and that's a huge plus. Actually, I mean, when you don't have to worry about the overhead, you can be your own entrepreneur, and I think that's where, especially a lot of young people, are looking to do. I mean, I've seen a number of young people that are doing Lyft and Uber, and I'm like, big ups to you. Because you want to be your own boss, that's a great thing. But I'm glad that we put that resolution forward because we want to make sure the American Rescue was really supposed to impact the entire community. And I'm just going to say, I don't think that we did a lot of foresight or forethought in making sure we captured as many folks as possible. I mean, I think you go through the list that you did for Orange County. That seemed to be very well thought out. And, for us being the third poorest city of our size, we should have thought a little bit deeper to make certain that we can capture and affect as many folks as possible. Because this is about American Rescue. At this point, 2.5 years later, I don't know how many people we're rescuing. Many of them probably perished already. I know that I had a couple of meetings for small businesses on daily. And at that time, I had about 15 businesses come out, and 2 of them have already closed. And that was maybe 6 months ago.
So they did get their money. They did get.
They
some
didn't
money.
get any money.
Oh, they didn't.
No.
Now I know you had brought somebody's letter. Well, we asked several people for paper trails, who at the end of the day were like, we were told we got it, but we still haven't.
Valencia Transportation. They sent me. They probably had 20 some odd pages of documentation of back and forth communicating about getting this money, which they eventually didn't get.
So what I have in front of me, folks, I'm going to read just a little bit of it. This is kind of where things are being distributed to out of the monies that we voted on. Now, it may not have a particular organization. Some of them do, and then others don't. So I'm just going to start at the top. So I'm going to go from what was adopted by the council, sent by the administration
in 21.
In 2021, August 26, almost 2 years ago, August 26, 2021, we said okay to this plan. And then in July of 2023, this is what it ends up being. So the first item was a public health equity initiative in 21 that was supposed to be $9 million. It ended up becoming $1,600,000, and they have already spent 30,000. Yeah, 30,000 of that money. The next item was community food security. Now I want you to remember the time and where we were at about not having grocery stores in different areas. That was $1,500,000. Afterward, it became $750,000. Community. Now, there's 2 lines that say community food security.
I forget how it was broke out.
It was broken out in different things. $13 million ended up being $750,000.
Wow.
Garbage user fee assistance. That's directly for people in their garbage user fee if they qualify, right? Was $5,500,000. It remained at $5,500,000. Then there was wraparound services for support for job training programs was at $20 million. What ended up in the amendment was $2 million. Northland Workforce Corridor, $2 million. It remained $2 million. By the way, big shout out to Northland Center. They just had a graduation, and Dave was a part of that. He graduated. Sales-based job training, $7 million. Oh, skills-based, not sales. Skills-based job training, $7 million. After the amendment, $3,500,000. Cleanup Corps which I'm not really sure what that is. I think that's cleaning up the community.
So that was basically making Mayor Summer Youth, I believe, all year round, and cleaning communities and stuff like that.
So that was at $9 million. What was sent to us was $1 million. Community center renovations. What was sent to us in 21 was $20 million. It ended up being $10 million. Now I'm going to say this because a lot of people use community centers, and I'm all for any dollars going to community centers. Frontline arts. Oh, this might be the question that somebody just texted me.
Yeah, that's the big one. That's the one everyone's more upset about.
All right, so I'm reading it as I read it. Okay, maybe not. No. Frontline Arts Organization Fund. That was $2,500,000. It got cut to $550,000. Now, the next one is cultural institution support. Was at $8 million. That stayed at $8 million. So those of you who are wondering whether you have money, you know which item you were under, because the Frontline Arts Organization and cultural institutions are two different things. So I think the cultural institutions are like African Cultural Center and that kind of stuff.
Shays,
it seems to be, it seems to have stayed. It seems to have stayed. Now, again, the devil's in the details. We don't have a breakout list in front of me. Park Access Equity, $20 million. It actually went up to $22 million. And that was for, just in all transparency, for some additions to parks that we've been waiting on for that to occur.
Right, because there was an increase in cost for the Shoshone project, which they bid it out and they came up with that. So that's why it had to need another $2 million. So,
So, and of that $234,000 has been spent. Maston Park, Johnny B. Wiley. Now, when this happens, remember, I was here when it happened. I hope I get invited to the ribbon cutting. I hope I get invited to the groundbreaking. And now Leah Halton Pope has got to invite me. Hopefully the administration will invite me because that was our baby. $23 million. It stayed at $23 million. So there will be a new Johnny B. Wiley, or additions to the Johnny B. Wiley, as we have been waiting for decades for this to occur, and this has been a baby of mine since I was elected. Affordable Housing Fund, $16 million. I'm glad to see it stayed at $16 million because people are really struggling. Healthy Homes Inspections, $1 million, stayed at $1 million. The Neil Dobbins, and this was a big one, Restorative Justice, which are all of our frontline workers, Stop the Violence, everybody who's worked together in other groups. It was proposed at $6 million. What came to us was $2,600,000. They have already spent $218,000. Almost done, folks. The next item was premium pay, and that was it proposed $0. It came back at $11 million, and that premium pay basically, folks, for the people who had to work during COVID from government, those who kept the government running, there was an agreement to pay them. By the way, from what I know, council members didn't get it. These are the workers. Council members did not get so this is not something going into our pocket. Smart sewer from $40 million to $14 million. Roll expansion, $10 million. And then revenue loss replacement. I want people to understand what that is. It is saying that the government, because of COVID, lost this much money. Now, part of the money that the government gets is from taxes on goods and services. That comes through the county. There are other things that we get that was, in 21, was said to be $100 million. And we agreed on that. What was brought to us was $159 million.
Now,
so go ahead.
I was going to say, in that 9.9 is the 1.1 million for each council member's work that was
absolutely
being done.
So there is an additional monies that is going to every councilmatic district for work on your streets, work on sidewalks. Your big thing is curbs. And I think that they're looking at a different material to do curbs because they're saying the granite is too much.
Too much.
I mean, it's like if you have granite in your house, you know how much granite is. So you put them there for Ron and them to run up over them and tear them up. So now they're looking at cement, I believe. So cement, which, folks, that will make a huge difference. I also want to say this, and there's other things. I'm not going to take the time. because I do want to run over to the station for the sponsors in about 1 minute. I'm going to come back over to the station for sponsors. But what I will say, I did see, because, my big thing is about filling these cracks on the street. Mm-hmm. And if you go down, my gosh, I got to think of where, Michigan. If you go down Michigan, I did see, as you're getting ready to approach like Cherry, where they have come through. Yep. Mm-hmm. And that you saw that?
I saw it.
You saw it? Folks, if you see like the little lines filled, that's a me. That's a me. That's Darius who pressed for us to have that in the budget so that they don't become the craters and the potholes of tomorrow. So when I saw it, I was so excited. So I will complain when I don't feel things are going right, but I will also compliment when they are. And when I saw Michigan, and all of those little, if you see just the little lines, I ain't talking about a whole layout. Right. The little lines, that means they have come through to seal up, and that's going to save that street and give it a longer life.
Yeah, and we need to do more of that, and I think that was a great resolution that you put forth, because I see other municipalities, they do that regularly, and it gives a little bit more life to that, that street, and then we save a little bit of money to do something else, because we can't every single year replace such streets, but this gives us a little bit more longevity.
But we got to take care of them, just like we take care of things at your house.
Yep.
Because as it's raining, the rain goes in these cracks, and then especially when it snows, then the salt goes in there, then the water goes in there, it freezes, and it splits the concrete. And that's one of the biggest reasons we have potholes. It's because of the winter and then the spring season, and it creates them. Well, if we can take care of them during the fall and during the winter and during the summer, we won't have as many. So let's spend the money to take care of what we have, and then hold those utilities accountable who come and dig in our street after we've done a street. Then and because we don't have any authority over the utilities, sometimes they just do whatever the heck they want to do.
And you going through that list, something came to mind, because it's almost like, I know that they've been talking about the user fee, and as well as the water allotments to folks. I don't know where that is. We need to follow up and find out where that is, because that's another block of money that could help people who are struggling, with their user fee and with the water. Because one of the things that came up during our conversation with some of the businesses last Tuesday was that some of those businesses were able to get this money because they owed on taxes. And I'm like, okay, well, if they owe on taxes, use that money to pay the taxes, because it's going to come back to the city. It makes no sense that they are going to be left outside in the cold because they owe taxes. Give them the money so that they can pay the taxes, and now they're in good shape.
We're going to come back over. We're going to go over to the station, and I'm going to let the station pay the bills in 3, 2, 1.
When it comes to something as personal as your clothes, you need to deal with somebody you can trust. That's why so many people turn to Hobson's Dry Cleaning, conveniently located in the heart of the community at 874 East Delavan at the corner of Wyoming.
When you take your clothes to Hobson's, you can trust that they'll be ready on time.
You can trust that your whites will be white.
You can trust that you'll always get a fair price and service with a smile.
You can even trust that you won't have to get out of your car if you don't want to. Hobson's has a drive-through window for your convenience.
Trust is what it's all about at Hobson's Dry Cleaning.
Hobson's Dry Cleaning, your one-stop dry cleaners serving the community for over 30 years at 874 East Delavan at the corner of Wyoming. Call 891-8298. That's 891-8298.
Brian K. Lewis Funeral Home has 3 locations to serve you in Buffalo: 347 Peckham, 2258 Bailey Avenue, and Providence Memorial Chapel at 1275 Sycamore. Brian K. Lewis Funeral Homes offers traditional services, and they have services for all faiths. And at Brian K. Lewis Funeral Homes, they have air-conditioned parlors and chapels. Financing is available, as is limousine service. At those difficult moments in your life, Brian K. Lewis Funeral Homes is available where you are with counseling services. Call toll-free 877-885-7734. That's 877-885-7734 or locally 845-5545. Brian K. Lewis Funeral Homes. We are here to serve you, here to serve this present age. Call today, toll free, 877-885-7734 or email info@brianklewisfuneralhome.com.
I mean, social media is lit up. Our social media. Corinne Flip says, "Yay for the crack filler. Need on more streets," and that's what we want to see.
Yeah.
We want to see that your streets are filled, so that you don't have the craters. Corinne says, "Yes, National Fuel is horrible in fixing the street after they have dug it up, and they are supposed to come back if they dig it up in the winter. They are allowed to put concrete temporarily." And then when the blacktop centers open, they are supposed to come back, take out the concrete, and put in blacktop. Sandra King says, yes, the craters in the streets damage our cars. Dino Clay is on. He says, fabulous Friday, Bishop and Councilmember Wyatt. I represent Valencia Transportation Services, and the work you're doing is most appreciated. After witnessing the live council session, I have a real respect for the work you all do and the headaches you deal with. This new transparency is refreshing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
man. That's what I'm talking about.
And I hope more people take advantage because, the one thing I say about social media is a good and bad thing because sometimes people put misinformation out and people jump on that, act like that's the gospel. But you can see our meetings live and hear from our mouths what we say and what's going on. So I hope more people will take advantage of that.
Negativity is always the loudest.
Yeah.
And then the one that's embraced. And you learn to just keep doing it.
And I give big ups to our council president because you were the one pushing for us being more responsible, even as far as our agendas. We used to get our agendas on paper.
Yep.
Now we get them
It's
through
online.
online. Everybody can see
We
it.
took the reason that we're live now on the council. We did that. The reason you can still come on Zoom in order to talk on an item. We did that.
Yeah.
I can't, I saw certain visions, but without the support of this council, these things wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
So, reasons many black businesses fail. Because now we're talking about black business and getting some of this money. Now I'm going to read two different perspectives. Mm-hmm. I think both written by, let me see if this one's written by a person of color. I don't know. All right, here's number one. They say, barriers to the business building process. Black entrepreneurs face some barriers throughout the business building process due to the long history of racial discrimination in the United States. According to McKinsey's study, they include economic, market, social, cultural. Okay, so let's just hit it. Mm-hmm. You agree?
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
Okay, I agree too. Reason number two, inequitable funding. Having startup capital is associated with successful business. Unfortunately, black entrepreneurs has less of it.
Absolutely.
Completely
Agree?
Absolutely.
Agree? Everybody agree. All right, I agree. You can't, a black business, yeah, we agree because I want to get to both lists. Number three, lack of expertise and business background. This writer says having a good family business background is yet another crucial factor for the success of small business as it offers informal learning, apprenticeship training, and an opportunity for family members to acquire human capital.
Absolutely.
Absolutely agree.
I remember there was a gentleman that worked for me when I worked at the bank, and he ascended very quickly. And I asked him, I said, how did you get this experience? He graduated from Notre Dame.
Yeah.
His family owned a farm. Mm-hmm. And he said, we deal with commodities all the time. And I'm like, wow. So he was dealing with, Wall Street when he was a young man.
Absolutely.
So, truth.
Number four, the reason many black businesses fail, poor business network. Business networking can support and promote black-owned businesses. However, some black entrepreneurs fall into, why did a pop-up just come up? Fall into overconfidence trap and will rather struggle with certain aspects of running the business rather than educate themselves or outsource work.
Absolutely.
Agree?
Yeah, I can, but I think some of that is taught.
I agree. So it goes back to the other one.
Right. Yeah.
And last night when we had dinner with Bishop Murphy, and I talked about, one of our musicians, Tony Barnwell, was on the national stage of Full Gospel this year. He was on the stage when T.D. Jakes was on. He was on stage every single day, but he grew up in the youth division. But he met William Murphy's musician. William Murphy's musician put Tony on the drums.
Wow.
And Tony asked him, and this is what he told him, what should I do to get to my next level, in the conference? And he said, network. He said relationships. That was his word, relationships. And so Tony met him, and he said he would be in the back. Now he could get in the back, And then the guy would say, go get on the drums. And Tony was like, you sure? Go get on the drums. And this guy is the musician for the coordinator of music for Full Gospel Baptist Church. Relationships. We got to build relationships. Because those who many people want to dog and say they own everything, they build relationships.
Yeah.
Whether you like it or not. They build relationships.
And let's just be clear, because I think a couple of weeks ago, me and Councilmember Wyatt talked about it. It was actually said even about Bray Miller.
Yeah.
The reason why they got it was because they knew about the situation. The administration knew. That was by relationship.
That was by relationship. Whether we like how it looks, it is by relationship. Number 5, the reason many black businesses fail. Poor management. This writer says, not Darius, this writer, and you can look at spotcovery.com to see this. He says effective management, or he or she is effective, and they got a lot of ads. I don't know how you can read.
Website.
Right, exactly. Effective management is key to a successful business. A successful business requires effective management. It involves developing a cohesive team, hiring and managing staff, and having specific purchasing, marketing, and financial skills. According to the article, most black business owners either don't have these skills or don't understand how important they are, which makes it difficult for them to manage.
Oh, that's true. That's absolutely true. I mean, I tell you, when I would go out to talk to different businesses, a lot of them didn't have that training and expertise. And again, the networking piece is really important. If you want to survive, you want to be successful, you got to get that training on management and hone those skills, especially as you look at employees and coaching them and get them to do what you need to do to have a successful business. So absolutely.
I would say I definitely agree too, mainly because and I look at the restaurant and bar example. A lot of people think because I can cook, I can go open a restaurant.
Absolutely.
But in one of my favorite shows is Bar Rescue.
Yeah.
And the first thing he always says is like, yeah, you've been a bartender, but do you know what your profit margin is per drink? Do you know how to price your food? Do you know how to make money on everything that you do? And we don't. Like, we just run to BJ's or Sam's and just get a bunch of collard greens and throw it in a pot. But not knowing how to price it relates into that management, and then flips into, like you said, coaching my employees. So that way, as the owner or the the owner, I can go on vacation and keep the restaurant open.
Absolutely.
I struggle with our black restaurants that when the owner go out, now the whole restaurant got shut down for a week because I don't trust anybody to work.
You got to
develop them. Yep.
So here is an article by a person of color. He's got his picture on it, Luke Lawal Jr. And he says the rate of African-American businesses failing today is at an all-time high. Now, let me see when this was written. This was in 2019. We all know that 80% of businesses crash and burn within the first year. Not to mention, when starting a business, the last thing you want to hear is why or how you could fail. But addressing the reasons for failure up front, you'll be much less likely to fall victim. He says, I can proudly say every last point listed I have either failed at or wasn't aware of. Number 1, too many alphas and no betas. In 2012, Gatorade ran an advertisement campaign based on kids who wanted to be like Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
He was the alpha male of a generation across celebrities in every field, and kids are drawn to that. But what about Scottie Pippen or Dennis Rodman or Steve Kerr? The entire team contributed to Jordan's accomplishments. The same goes for company startups in the small business field. Why do you think Google is the most competitive company in the country to work at? A team of top-notch betas, not alphas, formulate their executive staff.
I do struggle with this, but I struggle not in the corporate sense, but in the church world, because for years, we hear our people behind on the stage, go be a leader, go write your book, go open your business.
Yeah.
If everyone opens a business, who's working?
Yeah.
If everyone's writing, who's reading?
Right.
Like, there's
That's a good point.
I've always struggled with that.
That's a very good point. That it's all right to be a beta. and I'll go to the next one, but he says black-owned companies tend to fail with a team of 20 alphas who aren't think they are too good or too wise to be in a beta role.
But that really goes back to management. I mean, that the bottom line, you got to know how to manage people. You got to know how to manage personalities. That goes to the key point for a coach. You know, you have all these superstars. They all got egos. That's how they got there. But you got to know how to manage them.
And you got to know everybody can't be the quarterback.
That's it.
Number 2, no research. He says, my mother uses a variety of proverbs to incorporate life lessons she wants her family to live by. Her favorite, look before you leap, holds true for business. Never start something without fully understanding what you're getting yourself into. Starting a business is an eye-opening experience, and he goes on. Thoughts?
I just had this conversation with Mrs. Hobson because I remember talking to her late husband, and he said, you know, before I started my business, I researched for 2 years. I went and talked to different companies, and I talked to vendors and different things. He did his research. That's why Hobson has been around for how many decades?
Absolutely.
Because he did the research. So,
Mark?
I definitely agree with the research because not even just about the business, but I also need to know where I'm trying to operate and run my business. I think
location.
We talked about it before. If I'm in a situation where I'm moving into a neighborhood that has no disposable income, I'm less likely to succeed unless I'm expecting 80% of my business to come from outside of the neighborhood that I'm operating. So our research is important.
Absolutely. Number 3, insufficient funds. Most mistakes people make in gathering enough funds to start a business is they don't have enough to keep businesses regulated. In order to stay in business, your startup capital should cover your business for at least 12 to 18 months. After opening, according to David Golden, CEO and president of America Merchant or Amera Merchant.
And that's why we fail, because who's got that type of money?
No.
You know, that's part of the problem.
Do you know that's the number 1 reason?
That's the number 1.
It says the number 1 reason people fail. Now, this is according to the CEO, is because they run out of money.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that goes to relationships and networking, because if you have those relationships and networking and you're partnering, I mean, I remember when the owner of the Black Enterprise magazine came and he said one of our biggest problems as a community is that we rather be a owner of $1 million business instead of a partner of a $20 million business.
Absolutely. Number 4, failure to adapt. He said if it was the Walmart of all video stores, it put the T in TGIF nights. No kid in the 90s can deny, and he's talking about Blockbuster. And their failure to adapt. Do some businesses fail to adapt?
Many businesses fail to adapt. I mean, sometimes you want to keep doing it the same old way, and you're not open, you're not networking, you're not having conversation. I think that all touches on all those pieces. When you don't have networks and when you don't have other folks that you get advice from, and you're on your own little area, then you just kind of go down your own path.
But like you said, I think it's even networking with my consumer base, right? Because if I don't know what my consumers are doing, then I'm going to lose them. I actually just started a book at the recommendation of my other OG, and it's literally called Start With Your Why.
Wow.
And I actually was going to buy it for you because it teaches you the reason why Apple is successful is because they always started with the why, not what they do.
Yes.
And he starts talking to companies that focus on that. So because he said even though Apple started with computers, when they went into phones, no one questioned it.
Yeah.
Because all they knew is Apple's mantra was just go against the status quo.
Yeah.
And so as long as you are staying up to date with your consumer base and networking with them, I think you'll create that loyalty that would keep people coming.
Yeah. Well, what I say about that is that even when you're criticized, you know, you got a restaurant, somebody says that your macaroni and cheese is too hard, and they keep saying it instead of you going online and arguing with them. And I've seen this.
Yes.
You know, y'all can stay out of my restaurant. Other people like it. Right. No. How about have a conversation with the person who said it's too hard and figure out, is it really too hard?
Right.
You know,
maybe you cooked it well and it just sat in the warmer too long.
Maybe. Here's number 5: family member, not business partner. Blood is not always thicker than water when it comes to doing business. Even with the best of intentions and aspirations, what starts out as a seemingly safe, mutually beneficial project or interaction can turn into anything from a minor embarrassment, blah, blah, blah. African Americans tend to lean towards family and friends for staffing.
Absolutely not.
I think that's true.
Okay, but let's talk about this in real life, in real time. Other cultures lean toward family,
and they're successful in doing so.
So why different with us?
I just think we just built differently. I mean, especially when it comes down to money. When you put money in the equation, when it comes to us, that's like the death blow in many cases.
So
if you're not really built to understand, like if you haven't had a family business, you don't understand how this can be mutually beneficial.
And I think it goes back to that one, whether it's on the other one about family having businesses.
Absolutely.
Like if you have had it, when daddy walk in, he's not daddy, he's the boss.
Right.
And it's like you got to get rid of that dynamic. I think for some people that they have been raised up in the family business, so they already know. Yeah. They know what is expected, and because you go over right now to Hobson's and. Family members are over there. They're keeping the store running. And Brian K. Lewis.
Yeah.
And I mean, shameless plug, but to be very honest, he has family members and he's working every day. But I can tell it's not the Uncle Brian,
right.
When it's, that kind of stuff.
But they kind of grew up in it. I mean, you think about Hobson's, how long they've been a business, and they kind of grew up in it,
Yep. I'm going to just glance over 6, no consistent vision. 7 says, failure to diversify our products. Mary J. Blige singing on chicken commercials for McDonald's, Run DMC rapping on commercials for Adidas, the face of any black athlete on Nike. What do all these instances have in common? Their respective companies do the importance of branching out to other demographics. I agree. I think that we have to be willing, and I said this to somebody locally the other day, it's time to take your product outside of Buffalo.
Yeah, because I think sometimes we say we just want to, we have a black-owned business. It's a black-owned business, but everybody's dollar is green. So you're not just trying to cater to black people. You're trying to create a economic base that is diversified.
All right.
And I was just going to say, and let's not forget our classic For Us, By Us eventually faded away too. So.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
I'm going to number 9, failure to provide good customer service.
Now, that's top of the list.
Can I fade to black right there?
You want to fade to black?
That's top of the
says
list.
it leaves consumers uneasy, reluctant to patronize these establishments. That cloud is none other than poor customer service.
And I think you just said it, talked about the example. If someone criticizes your menu or something that they ate, you should be able to have that conversation with them to kind of hear what they're saying. Because at the end of the day, that's a moment that you can either turn somebody off and keep them, or they can just run away and say, I'm never going to come back.
So I want to finish this with part of his article because I've got to pay the bills. He says, it would be unfair to say that black businesses are the only entities that have less than desirable services. Try calling your local phone carrier or credit card company on a Friday night and see similarities. However, the major difference is as African Americans, we become the poster child for the negative stereotype, unlike our lighter counterparts. Although unfair, African Americans must work harder to break down this portrayal. Because let's be honest, too many of us know that one black business that we don't want to deal with because so-and-so hates their job and wants to take it out on the consumer. It should be common sense. Good customer service leads to referrals.
Oof.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Now that's the fade to black moment.
That's the fade to black moment.
That's the fade to black moment, because that was really good.
Listen, folks, it's been a great show. I'm going to throw it back over to the station so they can tell you about Hobson's, the Doctor of Dry Cleaning, and Brian K. Lewis Funeral Home. Until next week, Lord willing, in the creek, no rise.
Power to the people.